Hey guys, what's going on? It's Josh with How to Roll Dice, and I've got another quick game review for you here. This is one that we actually picked up recently, but it's, I believe, a slightly older game, or at least it's been around for a few years. The name of the game is Squirrel or Die. You can see the box there, Squirrel or Die. And this game's actually made by a company called Fight in a Box. They're based out of Minnesota. And while we were at Captain Con this past year, we actually got a chance to demo one of their newer games, which is called Processing. We do have that now, and I do plan on doing a quick little review on that shortly. But because we demoed that game and because we pre-ordered that game, we actually received a copy of Squirrel or Die for free, which is pretty great. It's a small game, it's a fast game, it's very easy to learn, and it's a lot of fun. It takes about 10 minutes to get through a game. It's 2 to 4 players. It's card-based, and it doesn't have any extremely mature themes or anything like that, so it should work for a pretty wide range of players. I'll get the box open for you here. I say it's very easy to learn, so easy to learn that actually the instructions to the game are printed on a handful of cards in this box, as opposed to being like part of a rule book or anything like that. So you can see here, the very first card that you pull up is the sort of cover card, Squirrel or Die. And then the following cards basically walk you through setup, how to play the game. I believe there's 5 or 6 of them that pretty much covers the entirety of gameplay because the game is so simple. You can also go to the link that they have listed on the back of the package here, which is, I believe it's just their website. It might be on one of the cards. I think it's just Fight in a Box Games, and that'll walk you through learning the game as well. But here's a quick look at what the game looks like. Here's the back of the cards, sort of this like grassy fall leaf looking scenery. They're all like that. And they're all like that for a reason, I'll tell you in a second. And then the front of the card is just this sort of simple art, almost like pencil sketched type art. And the concept of the game is basically you and your friends are playing as squirrels that are attempting to find food, forage, get your stuff together before the winter rolls around and you die from starvation or from various hawks and birds that try to eat you and farmers with pickaxes and things like that. And so the game's super simple. The general gameplay is this. You and your opponents start with a small number of cards in your hand. You also have the remainder of the cards in deck face down on the table in front of you. And then you have 4 cards in a 2x2 grid laid out in front of you. 1 card is face down and 3 cards are face up. During your turn, the first thing you're going to do is pull a card off of the deck. You're going to flip it face up and put it down, adding it to that 2x2 grid. So it's slowly going to expand out. And I believe it maths out so that no matter how many people you're playing with, because it does have you adjust the deck size, no matter how many people you're playing with, it ends up being a 5x5 grid once all is said and done. But anyways, you're going to take a card off the deck, you're going to flip it over, you're going to add it to the 2x2 grid, thus spreading it out a little bit. That's going to be face up. Then you're going to take any face-up card from the grid. It can be the one that you just played, or it can be one of the ones that is already down. You're going to pull that into your hand, and then you're going to take a card from your hand and secretly put it face down back into the grid. So essentially what you've done is you've flipped a card and shown it to everybody and added it to the grid. Then you've picked up a card, which everybody saw, they know what it is, and you've put it in your hand. And then you've secretly put one card that was in your hand back. And so that could be the card that you picked up. It could be a different card. It could be the very card that you flipped off of the deck if you then picked it up and put it back down. The point is, nobody but you knows. And so this goes around the table until eventually the entire deck has been drawn and played, and all of your hands have been drawn and played, and what you have in front of you is a 5x5 face-down grid. You're going to know the locations of several cards because you placed them, but because the grid doesn't expand evenly from the middle, it might not be as easy to remember where the cards that you placed are because people are placing cards around them. And until you get towards the last, I want to say 5 or 6 cards, you can sort of position them wherever you like. At one point, you're eventually going to have at least one row that's 5 deep or 5 wide. And that's going to sort of set the boundaries for the grid in that direction because you have to end with a 5x5 grid. So anyways, that's pretty much the whole game as far as setup goes. It's almost like you play through setup together. And then the real meat of the game is that you then take turns going around the table and flipping over one card one at a time. So I flip a card, the person on my left flips a card, the next guy flips a card, and you're going to find one of 2 cards. You're going to find cards that are just normal, food, safety, things like this, little acorn. And that means you're good to go. Keep on playing. You might also find a card that has a red border like this one, which is a very, very spooky looking cat. That means that you have lost 1 life. You put that card face up in front of you, and you are down to 2 lives because everybody starts with 3. Once you've lost all 3 lives, you're out of the game. You just keep going around the table, and by the time all the cards have been drawn, you're going to be down to one survivor, just based off the math of the cards. There are also some cards that are double death cards, which means you're actually going to lose 2 lives if you draw them. And then there are some special cards that actually have other effects. So for example, there's one card that says immediately flip another card. Obviously that sucks because it increases your chance of flipping a death card. Or if you're really good and you know where some cards are placed, it increases your chance of your opponents flipping a death card because you can slowly pull away the safe cards. There's one card that actually gives you an extra life, so now it takes you 4 lives to die. Or if you've already lost one, it just adds one to your pool. There's one card that lets you skip your next turn. I think it's like a sleeping squirrel, so it's like you sleep through your next turn, which again is nice because you don't have to risk pulling a death card. And so it's a really fun game. Like I said, it's about 10 minutes to play through. Even if you're teaching somebody, you can get through 3 or 4 games in like half an hour. It's simple, but it's interesting. It gets really kind of stressful towards the end when there's like 5 or 6 cards left on the table and maybe 2 or 3 players left, and you know that only one person is going to make it through, so you're like very cautiously reaching in and deciding which card you want to pick. It's a lot of fun. It's the kind of game that you can play sober, you can play drunk, you can play with kids, you can play with adults, you can mix it up. There's even a few different play styles. If you go to their website, I think there's like 2 variant play forms that seem kind of cool. We haven't tried those yet, but we've played the basic game through, I want to say 7 or 8 times at this point. We played it some at ArmorCon, we've played it here a bit at my house, always with a different group of people. Everybody picks it up right away, has a good time, and it's a great filler game, Like maybe you're playing a larger game in the evening and you've ordered pizza and you're waiting for the pizza to show up. You don't want to start your big game. Maybe you're doing some setup or something, but you don't want to get going into the game because then everybody's going to stop, eat, get greasy hands. You don't want to play a game with greasy hands. So what do? You pop out a little game like this, you fit in 2 or 3 sessions, the pizza shows up, cool, you eat, you move on to your full game. So it's a great little filler game. You could throw it into a backpack. You could probably play it in a car if you wanted to, like on the back seat of a car. Great game. It costs $10. The company is Fight in a Box. Go check it out. Pick the game up. They've got some other stuff that's good on there. Like I said, we have their other game Processing. They have a few others that we haven't played or picked up yet. But if we like Processing as much as we like this, and we get as much fun out of it, we're probably going to continue to pick their stuff up. But yeah, so check them out, check the game out, let us know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon with more reviews, demos, and gaming news in general. Have a good one.